What are some common mistakes that parents make but don't realize? Part 1. For parents of teens, the kids should feel comfortable going to them about any problem, not afraid to tell them anything for fear of punishment. This is why I appreciate my parents so much. They make it incredibly easy for me to talk to them about anything, which was a saving grace in high school when I actually needed or wanted their advice. Being overprotective, shielding them from everything means when they're gone, the child has no idea what to do. Part of this is crucial. Do not freak out if your kid gets hurt. If they fall, tell them it's okay and get up. If you run over to comfort them, they will start crying since they see their role model getting anxious because of the fall. You are basically teaching them that the correct response to a setback or accident is to cry for attention. Don't worry too much. If your kid really hurt themselves, they will let you know. It's interesting seeing my niece playing, as her mother has consistently refused to make any fuss over things like these. Whenever she falls, she gets very quiet for a second, looks at her mom, then she will get back up and keep playing. Please don't give your kid too hard a time about liking a boy or girl. It just makes them not want to open up later when they actually like someone. Yep, I will never talk about girls with my parents now because of this. Even a date, I just say, it's hanging out with a friend. Punishing their kids but not actually telling them why they are being punished. It's very possible that they don't know what they did was wrong. Possibly they thought what they did was allowed, or they could be innocent of the crime they apparently committed. I know parents think they are teaching their kid right from wrong, but this is what your child is actually learning. I must have done something wrong, but I don't know what it is. Why the hell aren't my parents telling me what I did wrong? I am trying to think of what I did, but I cannot think of anything I did wrong. Clearly I did nothing wrong. And my parents are complete bullies who get off on punishing their kid for no reason. This also works for teachers as well. But what did I do? You know what you did, young man. No, I don't. Not enforcing rules consistently. It teaches your children to not take you seriously and also frustrates them because they never know what to expect from you. While they may not be happy with the consequences, your relationship will be much better when they know you will stick to your word. To piggyback on that, don't not let the oldest do something till 13 years old and let their siblings do it at an earlier age. It will be the biggest "what the heck are you kidding me" moment in that teen's life. Hold your kids to the same standard. Also, don't visibly have favorites. It messes with your kid's head. There might be a child that you connect with more than based on the same tastes late in life, but you don't love them all equally. Don't punish accidents. Everyone drops something once in a while, unless they did it on purpose or tried to balance it on their heads. Don't get angry about a couple of shards. You needed nicer glasses anyway. My kids love to tell people one of the big rules in our house: if you break something, you have to help fix it. Kids are kids. They do stupid stuff all of the time. Sometimes it's immensely frustrating, but unless they are deliberately doing it, getting angry and/or punishing them doesn't make any sense. Expecting them to be an adult but still treat their 20-something son or daughter like they're still 15. I know how you feel. I'm 18, just turned in April. My dad treats me like an adult and lets me generally make my own decisions, but still offering advice when he sees fit. On the other hand, my mom treats me like I'm a 12-year-old. Not admitting to their own mistakes or imperfections. I'm 24 years old and my parents are still determined to make me think they've never done anything wrong in their lives. I didn't make them better role models like they'd hoped. While growing up, it made me feel like I couldn't be open and honest with them if I did something wrong. I was an adult before I felt like I had any real, genuine relationships with family members. My entire life, my parents have always pointed out every little imperfection in anything I do, so I'm terrified of doing anything in front of anyone because I'm worried and I'll do something and get made fun for it. I mentioned my parents were wrong about something. Now I'm a child who doesn't know anything and I can't say anything because they're not actually wrong. Denying your kids their emotions. You're not tired, you just took a nap. You're not hungry, you just ate. You like hot dogs though. Kids don't like to feel invalidated because you think you know their emotions better than they do. A better way to go about it would be, you're tired even though you just took a nap? Would you like to take a longer nap next time? You're hungry still? Do you want more, or I'll get you more when we get home? You used to like hot dogs, but don't anymore? Interesting. Every day I'm with my mom, she constantly denies me. Like I said, I've brushed my teeth and she'll go, "No you haven't, go brush." I freaking have. It's not just things like brushing your teeth though. It's things that matter, and she just takes the piss. Make children think for themselves. If they ask you a question that they would probably figure out the answer to themselves, ask them what they think instead of spoon-feeding them the answer. Later in life, this is the difference between somebody who asks for help all the time and can't work things out, and the person who figures everything out and overcomes their own problems. This is where my parents are polar opposites. My mom would spend all day working on math homework for me, while my dad would say something along the lines of, "Well, what do you think?" I have difficulty answering questions now because I don't want the work done for me, but I also don't want to go back to where I was before the question. Not teaching your child to make choices. You can't ask, "What do you want for dinner?" and then get ticked when they say ice cream. Give them choices, mac and cheese or spaghetti, grapes or apples, and so on. Don't ask them questions you don't want them to answer no to. Don't say, "Are you ready for bed?" because they will say no. It's time for bed, go use the bathroom, etc. It will cause a lot less arguing. This can be applied to pretty much any situation. Although it may not work every time, laying out some options rather than asking what somebody wants makes decision making a lot less stressful. Comparing their kids to other children. This kills the kids. Until the other kids do just as bad on the test as you did and you tell them everyone else did bad, suddenly it doesn't matter what everyone else. The clear your plate mentality. I work in a restaurant and I always see parents forcing food down their kids' throats after they've said they're full. It creates an unhealthy relationship with food and teaches kids to eat when they're not hungry or even to the point of feeling sick. Eat everything on your plate does nothing to help starving children in Africa. Railroading their teenage child down a path they don't necessarily want to go and getting supremely angry when the child resists or thinks about resisting. And being overly controlling in general. And for frail's sake, don't blow things out of proportion. Don't hold mistakes that are over 10 years old over the child's head. As a 26-year-old making a second run at college after being forced into a mechanical engineering program when I can't do calculus, I cannot stress this enough. My parents still assume I don't go to class and play video games all day. You need to world-proof your child instead of trying to child-proof the world. Explain the reason. If the kid wants to play with the fire, you can't just say no. You need to explain why. This reminds me of a story from a cousin of mine who was young. For whatever reason, his favorite question was, "Is this hot?" Condiments, surfaces, food, you name it. If it had a temperature or a flavor, he asked if it was hot. One day on Thanksgiving, my mom is cooking and he points to the stove and asks, "Is it hot?" "Yes, it's hot, so don't touch it." "Okay." "Is it hot?" "Yes." "Is it hot?" "You know what? Touch it and find out." The stovetop was really hot. Not spending enough time with their kids while they're still at an age where they want to spend time with their parents. And whining after retirement that they never got to know their kids. If you didn't care about getting to know your kids for the first 18 years of your life, they are unlikely to want to hang out with you later. Praise your children when they do good. Obviously, point out wrong behavior and correct it, but also acknowledge the good that children do. "I'm proud of you for doing X," or even "I'm proud of you" in general, goes a long, long ways. I wish my parents said this every once in a blue moon. With praise, the key comes from it being tied to a specific accomplishment, i.e., you worked really hard on that project and got an A, good job, that's great, versus a generic "you're so smart," with no specific reasons for the praise. Not having your child deal with mistakes and bailing them out. How else is a person going to learn from their mistakes if no consequences result from their actions? When I was 6, I called the emergency number for pranks and giggles. My mother made me go talk to the officer they sent automatically to every call on my own to explain what happened and to apologize. I was bawling my eyes out. I was scared of going to jail. And guess what? I never called the emergency number again. Raising the child they want, not the child they have. My parents made me play baseball for 4 years when I was a kid. Really hated it after like a year. The only way I got them to realize I didn't like it was by intentionally striking out and not really trying. Not listening, especially with teenagers. Most parents would rather hear the sound of their own voice and opinion than listen to what their kids have to say. Believing that shouting and screaming at them will get them to behave. Mad at your child for yelling and screaming to get what they want? yell and scream at them to stop. Teasing. You may think it's harmless, but children and teenagers can take it seriously and it can harm their development. Oh man, my mom would do that. The time that I'll never forget is when I was starting to get facial hair. She would tease me about it. I didn't want to ask for a razor or anything, since she would then have another thing to piggyback on the hair. But I finally got one right before I was going on a trip. In my grandparents' kitchen with all kinds of family around, she started teasing me about my chin hair and me shaving it. I was so embarrassed and mad. She knew I was mad and then teased me for getting mad about her teasing about shaving it. I love my mom, but she has taught me a lot about how not to act towards my son. I don't want him to have those same feelings towards me that I did to my mom. Never holding their kids responsible for their own actions. Something messes up teaches them a valuable lesson.